She was the first to raise her hand, eager to answer the question, but just because she was female, the professor pretended not to see her. The first male student stood up, struggling to formulate an answer. Growing impatient, she raised her hand again. This slender arm stood out conspicuously in the law school classroom filled with men. The professor glanced down at the roster, noted her name, but ignored her again. She felt disappointed. When the second male student's answer proved equally inaccurate, she couldn't help raising her hand once more.
Question already, Mrs. Ginsburg.
Correction, Professor Brown.
When called upon, she stood and articulated the case details completely and clearly. A male student challenged her, but couldn't match her arguments. When he tried to interrupt, she refused to yield.
If I may finish?
She delivered a perfect answer, leaving the room in stunned silence. Yet the professor was unwilling to praise this girl who had outshone the male students.
Is that an answer, Mrs. Ginsburg, or a filibuster?
This young woman would later become the renowned Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the second female justice in the history of the U.S. Supreme Court. But during her youth, women studying law were extremely rare. This was Harvard University in the 1950s, where only 9 of over 500 incoming students were women. What should have been a source of pride quickly revealed itself as a disadvantage when she discovered that female students faced discrimination at every turn. Other bright women chose to deliberately appear less intelligent and weaker, but the stubborn Ginsburg refused to hide her brilliance. At a dinner event, the dean arrogantly posed a question to the female students present.
And why you're occupying a place at Harvard that could have gone to a man.
Although all the women felt offended, they tried to maintain their dignity. The first woman answered, "My father is a lawyer, and I'm studying law to carry on the family practice." The dean responded ambiguously. The second woman began, "I don't want to get married, nor do I want to be a teacher or nurse." But the dean interrupted her before she could finish.
That's not a very good reason.
When Ginsburg's turn came, she accidentally dropped her fork. Others thought she was nervous, but internally, she was preparing her counterattack.
My husband Marty is in the second-year class. I'm at Harvard to learn more about his work, so I can be a more patient and understanding wife.
This was clearly sarcasm, and everyone present understood the implication. The dean, who had intended to humiliate the women, became the fool instead. Years later, Ginsburg graduated at the top of her class from law school. Through sheer ability, she overcame biased professors and countered the arrogant dean. Yet she never imagined that upon entering the professional world, she would immediately hit an invisible wall. In the vast city of New York, not a single law firm was willing to hire her.